What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Seth, and today we're going to be going through the hard dungeon that is known as Labyrinth Halls. This is going to end up giving up pretty much the exact same loot that you can end up getting out of the fire dragon. However, the strategy of actually getting through this dungeon is going to end up being a little bit different. This dungeon is a potion drainer, I would say, because there's quite a few things in it that are going to end up draining your health more than you would expect, especially if you're trying to get through this dungeon without actually having yourselves a priest, which is what we usually end up going for because more DPS is always a good thing. Why did they go in when our other guy's not here? So as you get into the dungeon, you pretty much just go right up here and you can see that there is the boss down in the background, just kind of always present, which is actually a pretty cool, identity to this dungeon. But you're going to have to activate all these crystals in this one central room that was right back there in order to end up progressing to all of the later rooms. Now you can see on the left that there's going to end up being some purple blocks, or kind of purple. That actually acts as kind of, let's just say they're acid blocks. So that's going to drain a lot of your mana. A lot of your health, not your mana. And these dark construct dudes that we're focusing on right away, these are mages that are pretty much just healing all of these other dudes. So you gotta get them as soon as possible. Try to get them all out of the way on the bottom floor before you end up going to the top, because again, when you end up getting to the top, you're just going to get your health absolutely decimated by just standing on those purple blocks. As you end up getting up here, there's a couple tricks that you can do, like stand on this pillar right here if you're a melee character, and then if you're a ranged character, again, you can end up standing on this pillar, and it's honestly going to be a lot easier for you just because you're going to have that much more survivability, because otherwise this is one of the many reasons why it's either good to have a priest or just good to have a whole bunch of potions or be someone like Berserker, where you could normally have life leech, but you saw that it didn't work because life leech is kind of finicky like that. Or at least it is for me. So anyways, as you end up leaving out of this room, you're going to be going right back into that central hallway that I mentioned before. And then you would activate this crystal. Somebody already did. And then you just jump down and go into this door. And you're pretty much going to be going to be presented with 3 different rooms. This one's a little bit different. You can see all of these lizard dudes on the right, and they kind of have a very strange glow about them. So right up here, there's going to be a mage that you're going to have to kill right away, or at least have somebody kill. And then otherwise we go through here and start destroying all of these dudes that are called Carl for some reason. These are those exact same priest enemy type dudes, so you gotta get rid of them as soon as possible. And then there's going to end up being these urns that you can kind of see on the right that our teammates are kind of using, and these are going to have to be thrown at these lizards in order to end up getting rid of their dark barrier thing or whatever it is that actually makes them invulnerable. It doesn't matter how powerful you are. And then you end up hitting them with the pot and ends up getting rid of their shield so that you can actually end up causing damage to them. Once all the enemies are defeated, once again, the gateway is going to end up opening up, throwing us back into that central room where we're going to end up activating another crystal and going to the final room before we end up fighting the boss. And the boss has a handful of different attacks that are fairly televised, and there's a couple tricks that you can end up doing to fighting him. Now, again, while primarily I play as a melee character, so a lot of my tips are going to end up applying to melees, it doesn't mean that these tips are not going to end up applying to ranged characters. So again, we're dealing with this acid block. So we could have actually stood on that platform, but generally I really don't like this room because I find that a lot of the platforms kind of get in the way. It's really difficult to see what's going on. So anyways, on the left and right, you're going to be dealing with another Carl. And these guys are super duper annoying because they'll just stun lock you over and over again if you're not careful. And then there's going to be a lizard, but you're going to have to focus on the Carls because, again, they're going to end up being not necessarily the same priest guys from earlier, but they are going to end up being very annoying. You're going to want to make sure that your group this is unquestionable. You have to split up. Because if you have your entire group on one side, the Carl that you can see on the right side of the screen is going to keep using that stun attack over here on the left. And these two guys kind of combining their forces can actually keep you in an almost permanent stun state. So you got to try and split up your group, or at least have one person over distracting one of the other mages so that they're not both just attacking you. So anyways, now we're going into the final segment of the dungeon. So you activate the crystal right here. Everything's going to kind of be barrierized until the crystals are activated. He talks for a little bit saying, "Hey, I'm a pet." And then for some reason you end up fighting this guy. Now you see when he puts his sword over his shoulder, that actually means that he's about to do his jump attack. That right there, where he just kind of backs down a little bit, you can see is his main, like, just kind of swipe attack. Sometimes he'll end up swinging once, sometimes twice. And then during certain phases of his health, he's going to end up laying down those tornadoes, which will end up not only causing damage, but they'll also end up slowing you down. So you can see he's going to do his jump attack, and he pretty much always jumps towards a specific character and is going to end up slamming down on top of you. So the biggest thing that you're going to watch out for with this guy is his bleeding proc. So if he ends up tagging you with his sword, it's going to end up causing more and more damage over time, just as you end up getting tagged over and over and over again, and eventually you just won't be able to heal out. So you can see there's quite a few things going on with the arena. You can see in the middle of it, we've got kind of all this fire and brimstone going on all of the bars. Obviously, you do not want to be standing in that. Certain areas, like you can see right here, is a safe platform that you can end up walking across if you're a character that has a dash ability that's not necessarily going to get you through it without dying. But as you can see right there, he kind of does this big laser attack. We just all call it like Kamehameha or something like that, right? And so long as there's an enemy like right in front of him, and by enemy I mean one of us, like an actual player, right? So long as you're actually in front of him and he's aggroed towards you, usually he'll just end up shooting his laser. It's going to cause a little bit of damage, but more importantly, that's going to end up stunning you. And as you saw, he teleports a couple times. He's going to teleport 2 to 3 at maximum times to kind of realign his shot until it's actually got a player in it. But guaranteed on his third teleport, he's going to end up landing his shot and actually just shooting it regardless of whether anybody's actually in it. So you can see right here, as we ended up getting to the either 18 mil or 17 mil health mark, he ended up actually teleporting, and then he summoned all of these ads. Now these are going to end up being pretty much those same priest dudes that you ended up seeing earlier, and while you could actually go for them, honestly it's just not really recommended, because they're just going to end up taking a lot of extra time. And so long as you just leave them alone, they're going to kind of just keep trying to heal the boss, which essentially is going to end up making him take a little bit longer to die. But, you know, so long as you have a tough enough group, it shouldn't really matter too much, because if you end up actually trying to go and fight those dudes, they're all going to end up fighting back, and it can be a real chore trying to take them down. Because he's just going to keep spawning them for every time he ends up getting to his next segment. And as you saw, we ended up getting to his next part right here, where he ended up teleporting again, throwing down some more enemies. And I mean, generally you're just gonna have to do the same thing that you would do with any of these bosses in this game, where you're gonna have to fight them over and over again. This is a charge attack, so he's gonna do pretty much the exact same thing as his Kamehameha, but you're not going to see any visual cue for it. So you could see he actually teleported like 3 times, and then he just took the dash. That one's going to be something you're going to definitely want to dodge, because that dash attack of his is pretty powerful. Now, if you by all means want to go for the ads, again, I won't recommend it, because otherwise when they're in this segment, as a melee character, you have to stand on this platform in order to even hit the other guys. Like, it's actually ridiculous. So you can see right there, I ended up getting tagged by his sword. Right down by my tomb shock, or whatever that debuff is when you end up dying, right? You can see that we've got a 7-second cooldown on the proc. So again, it's going to end up not only refreshing that if we end up getting tagged again, but it is going to end up stacking. So again, it's really important to kind of dodge this guy's attacks, not because the initial damage that they do, but it's just really annoying, like overtime damage, where you're just going to end up slowly melting away into absolutely nothing, right? So it's important to point out too, if you're high enough in fishing mastery, you can end up actually fishing in that lava. And otherwise, have yourselves a fantastic day. Don't forget to like, sub, hit that notification bell. If you want to support me, you can always sponsor the YouTube channel with that join button down below, buy some of my real life merch, or you can check the link down below to Gawkbox, which is a way that you can donate to me for absolutely free. Sayonara and stay epic, everybody.